I want to welcome everybody to Online Presenters. Remind you that this meeting will be recorded. We use the stills and video excerpts as our club's PR and social media. It's usually sent out in an email to everybody. That way you get a chance to watch yourself later on and see what you did that maybe the evaluator didn't comment on and try to improve your speeches. We can make exceptions upon request if you don't want your image to be shown or your voice. And the purpose of this club is for learning skills for better webinars and online events. We do use Ring Central, which uses Zoom within Ring Central, and it's provided to us compliments of David Carr. Some meeting tips: use headset or earbuds. Mute yourself when you're not speaking. The mute controls are in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. You can also mute and unmute your video if you need to get up from your chair to do something. That way you're not so distracting if you got to do something unusual like sneeze or cough, or just get up and get something to eat or drink. Those buttons are in the upper right-hand corner, which allows you to, the buttons in the upper right-hand corner allow you to switch between gallery view and active speaker view, which is being displayed in the lower part of the screen right now. Please watch for who the timer is. Make sure you know who the timer is. And locate the thumbnail image of the timer. Keep track of them. Also suggest using your own timer device, because sometimes you may lose track of the timer. So it's a good idea to use your own, like a cell phone or other timing device. If you know anybody that wants to join, or you're a guest and you do want to join, go to our website and click on the join button and fill out the information about the join, and we'll get back to you. Typically, we require 6 Toastmasters speeches as a prerequisite, but we do make exceptions for people who have other speaking experience. We just require to make a 1 to 2 minute speech about why you want to join the club. And then the club votes on to accept you. Now it's show time, and I'm going to stop sharing. And I've got to pull up my agenda. So first thing we'll do is we'll introduce our functionaries. I am the Toastmaster of the day. And is Ryan here? And Ryan
Sure
is the odd counter. Introduce the odd counter's role, Ryan.
Well, tonight I'm going to use Q-tips and make sure my ears are really, really clean so I can hear all the little things that come out of people's mouths when they're supposed to be taking pauses. So I'll keep track of all that and report that at the end of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. And Elaine is going to be our timer. Where's Elaine at? There she is.
Good evening, everybody. I'm your timer this evening. I have colored paper, which I'll be holding up to mark green. I'll be holding it up like that, yellow and red. So make sure you have me visible if you're a speaker or an evaluator. And Nick is 5, 6, or 7 with cutoff at 7:30. Rolando is 8, 9, or 10 with cutoff at 10 minutes and 30 seconds. And Carol Prahinsky is 5, 6, and 7. Table topics is 1 minute, 1 minute 30, and 2 with cutoff at 2:30. And we want evaluators to run theirs in 2 minutes. Yellow is 2 minutes and 30 seconds. 3 is red, and 3:30 is. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Okay, thank you. And let's see. Our grammarian tonight is Andy Byrne. Is that correct? Andy? You're muted.
Yes, I am
There
now
you go.
unmuted. I am the grammarian. Do we have a word that I'm listening for, or just listening for general grammarian style stuff?
Um,
I looked at the sheet
look, I
and it
don't
didn't
see a-
have it said a
I
theme,
don't
but it
see a
didn't
word of
see
the
a
day.
word.
You're welcome to create a word of the day, or just
Oh.
listen for grammar.
I can do both. The word of the day that's part of the New Year's could be celebrate or celebration. So we'll listen for you incorporating celebrate or celebration for the New Year or any other celebration as part of the grammarial listening.
Okay. You want to explain what you'll be doing as the other part of grammarian?
Grammarian, I'll be listening to everything that everybody is saying throughout the entire meeting, identifying correct use of words, correct sentence structure, proper tense, and generally how you're speaking. And I'll report on that when called upon.
Okay, thank you. And Jim Barber is our watcher tonight.
Good evening, everyone. As your watcher this evening, I am going to be, ready for this, watching you. Now, this is an activity that is illegal in 47 states, but at Online Presenters, it is not only condoned, it is encouraged. I will be watching everyone to see what your video presence is like, and I'll be reporting at the end of the meeting for anyone who is doing a superb job or anyone who might have some suggestions that I could make for improving their video presence. So remember, I am watching you, Mr. President, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Okay, our next role is Dagmar is going to be our vote counter. Well, where's she at? There she is.
Yes, so I will be your vote counter today, and guess what? I will be counting the votes, so please send them to me once prompted by Toastmaster of the day. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. And when you cast your votes, make sure you send it to Dagmara as a private chat, to her only, so other people don't see how you're voting. Our next role is Dr. Watkins is our chat monitor. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I want to explain to everybody what you'll be doing is monitoring the chat.
Absolutely. Well, I will be monitoring the chat box to see if there's any content. It sounds like we have already a wonderful conversation going on in terms of a couple things with DTM requirements and coaching. So I'll be taking a look at that throughout the remainder of the meeting and provide a report at the end. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Okay, thank you. And it looks like we are now ready to begin our speakers portion of the meeting. And I've got our first speaker is Nick. Are you ready, Nick? Where is he at?
Yeah.
There he is.
All good.
Right in the middle of
All
the
good,
screen.
Jimmy.
Okay. Let me do his introduction. Nick is giving a speech from the Presentation Mastery Level 1, Mastering Fundamentals, Evaluation and Feedback. The speech is called Crystal Clear. The scenario today is that you are all small business owners attending a networking event, and Nick is the guest speaker. After his speech, you will be able to create a clear elevator speech for your business by using a simple 3-step process, which Nick will share with us. With a presentation entitled Crystal Clear, please give a warm welcome to Nick Lakhani. His speech is
Good evening.
crystal clear. Go ahead, Nick.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for letting me speak at this event, Jim. I really appreciate the invite. Today, I'm here to tell you a little bit about myself, and also I want to help you be more successful in your business. What I do is to help business owners speak in a simple and clear way to their prospective clients. To do this, I'm going to share with you a simple 3-step process that will help you create a clear elevator pitch. An elevator pitch is a short yet effective introduction to your business. It's deadly important, as sometimes you only have 30 seconds to make your mark. Let me explain after a quote. You've all heard of Albert Einstein. There was one time where he said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Let me repeat that. If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Simplicity is the key for the elevator pitch. If it's simple, it's clear. If it's clear, you've got more chance of it being understood. If you can be understood by the person you're speaking to, then you've got a very good chance of he or she asking you for your business card and maybe a call later on in the week. Remember, the key about the elevator pitch, you're not selling anything today. You want to pique their interest. Okay? Now, the three-step plan I'm going to share with you today is actually very simple. I call it my BSM. Okay? Now, you're not going to remember this, are you, tomorrow? So, over in Britain, when I actually do this, it's very simple. I call it the British School of Motoring. It helps people remember the words, the letters, BSM, British School of Motoring. However, it doesn't mean anything to most of you who are in the USA. So let me see if there's any other words that I can use to get across the 3 letters BSM. So let me think. How about the 42nd president, Bill Clinton? Yeah, you remember him. Plays a saxophone, was in the White House for 8 years, likes young people. Well, how about this? BSM and Bill serenades Monica. Now, are you going to remember this? Okay, I guess that's a yes. So BSM, what does that mean? Okay, the B is to actually make your elevator pitch benefit rich. Okay, benefit rich. Now, what that means is that don't tell somebody what you do. Don't tell them how you do it. Tell them how you're going to make them smarter, put more money in their pocket, or to have more time with their kids. That's what they're really interested in. What benefits them, not how you do it. So make it benefit rich. The second item is to be specific. Now, if I say to you that I'm a business coach, and what I can do is to help every business in the United States grow. What does that mean? Doesn't really mean anything, does it? Be specific. So what I would do instead is to put some metrics in there. And in a minute, I'm going to give you an example of how I would do it. Okay. Now, the third, the M, is for memorable. What are you going to do to actually make yourself and your elevator pitch more memorable? Sometimes it could be the idea of adding scarcity. Sometimes it could be maybe add a guarantee. Sometimes add in a couple of big key customers that you have that they will have actually heard of. Let me give you an example of this 3-step process. If I said to you that I'm a business coach and what I do is help businesses grow, that's not really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it through this 3-step process. I'm going to make it benefit rich. So I'm going to say, I'm a business coach, and what I do is I will increase your profits. Okay? I will increase your profits. Then, to be more specific, instead of saying, I can help you grow a lot, I'm going to actually say something like, I will increase your profits by 25% in 90 days. Then, to make it a bit more memorable over here, what I'm going to do is to say, for qualifying businesses, that means not everybody qualifies, for qualifying businesses, I will increase your profits by 25% in 90 days or your money back. Would that be of interest to you? At that point, you stop, you pause, let them say the next words. With any luck, they'll ask you for your business card or ask you a couple of follow-up questions. But you've got them, you've got their attention, and make an appointment with them and see them. Remember, the elevator pitch is all about getting their attention and getting to the next level. You're not going to sell anything in the first 5 minutes that you meet somebody. Okay? In summary, what I've actually done is I've given you an example. I've given you an elevator pitch. Hi, my name's Nick. I'm a business coach and I help businesses grow. And what I've done is changed it and made it more BSM. What does BSM stand for? That's the wrong one. So let's make it benefit rich. So make it specific. And finally, made it memorable. So my elevator pitch now is, hi, my name's Nick. What I do, I help qualifying businesses increase their profits by 25% in 90 days or your money back. Would that be of interest to you? Hands up. Was that memorable? Good. Jimmy, it's been a pleasure. Back to you.
Thank you. Very enlightening. Good tips. Okay, we'll give our evaluator about a minute to complete his notes. Just while he's doing that, I want to tell everybody that, we got the notice about the club coach now being allowed to be used as a district officer role, and that came out on Saturday morning. Coincidentally, I'm in another online club and I submitted the form to assign a second club coach for Saturday morning before I even saw that notice. So that club coach going to get appointed is going to get a double benefit. Just a coincidence, they both occurred on the same day. My district director in my geographic district also just sent that notice out to all the members this morning. So our next speaker is Rolando. And pull up his. Orlando is speaking from the Advanced Manual Technical Presentations, and he's giving a speech on technical briefing. The title of his speech is The Basics of Wi-Fi. The time for this is 8 to 10 minutes as a reminder for our timer. He's been a Toastmaster since 2015. Tonight, Rolando will discuss the basics of Wi-Fi. He will introduce the different ways of bringing Wi-Fi to your house, and he will cover the basics of a Wi-Fi network. So let's welcome Rolando. The basics of Wi-Fi. Go ahead, Rolando.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests, good evening. A show of hands, how many of you guys use Wi-Fi at home? Okay. Most people use Wi-Fi at home. But tonight, you guys are lucky. I'm gonna discuss the basic of Wi-Fi. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. The basic of Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi, wireless fidelity. That's what Wi-Fi stands for. People can confuse Wi-Fi with broadband Wi-Fi or broadband, mobile broadband, or Wi-Fi is a local network. It's not broadband. In order for you to have Wi-Fi, you need an access point at home, an access point or a gateway. Luckily, most ISPs, they will provide to you this equipment called access point. If you're in Florida, your choices are Comcast cable, AT&T telco, or Uverse, AT&T fiber, or AT&T satellite. So all these ISP providers, when you sign up with them, they'll give you a box. That box, we call it a gateway, and that box also embedded into it is an access point. So this is the beginning point of the Wi-Fi network. You must have an access point. The next piece of equipment that you need for a Wi-Fi network is a Wi-Fi stay or Wi-Fi station or clients that connects to the wireless network to establish a connection to the access point. An example of a Wi-Fi station is a smartphone or a laptop. I'm using a laptop right now over wireless. A tablet. And you also nowadays we have what we call Internet of Things, which is a lot of home devices being connected to the network. For example, a thermostat, or a microwave, or a refrigerator. All those can have the ability now to connect to the Wi-Fi network to establish a network, so we'll be able to control your thermostat remotely. The other thing you need for a Wi-Fi network is called SSID, or Service Set ID. Basically, when you use your smartphone and Wi-Fi, when you try to detect your network, you see a name that you can recognize. That name, that's what we call SSID. In addition to your name, the name that you set up for the SSID, you can see your neighbor's SSID and your next neighbor's SSID. But you have to pick yours because yours, you configured it. And that will give you your best throughput, your best performance because it's close to you. Wi-Fi bands. Wi-Fi operates in two different frequencies, 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. The access point supports both bands, meaning that any clients, the clients could either be a 2.4 gig clients or a 5 gigahertz client. So the access point supports both. It can accept a connection from a thermostat, it could be a 2.4 gigahertz, or it could be from your laptop, or for a smartphone, which could be a 5 gigahertz client. The Wi-Fi coverage or network range. This is a wide topic. I could have an hour speech on that as far as Wi-Fi coverage and network. But what you must understand is very access point location dependent, meaning that where your access point is located determine how good is your Wi-Fi network. And also your signal strength. The higher your signal strength, the better your network gonna be. So you'll be able to get a higher throughput or higher speed as far as your clients trying to download files. Wi-Fi speeds versus the protocol or standards. So Wi-Fi been around since 1997. That was the first standard, the first specs that went out in 1997. And you can tell the download speed for that was 2 megabits and 2.4 megahertz. 2 megabits meaning that you're downloading 2 million bits per second over the air, over the airwaves. The next specs was in 1999, which is 54 megabits and the 5 gigahertz band, which is 802.11a. The next one is 802.11b in 1999, and the 2.4 gigahertz band, which was 11 megabits. Nowadays, most devices, most clients uses either 802.11n, which came out in 2009, or 802.11ac, which came out in 2013. And all those protocol standards, you can tell as you go forward, you get more speed. And that's what people are hungry for. They want more speed and speed and speed. And right now, currently, they're working on a new spec called 802.11ax, but that hasn't been released yet. It's still in the works. And you can tell 802.11n, the maximum theoretical speed right now is 400 megabits. Compared to 1997, it was 2 megabits. And the maximum speed for 802.11ac is 750 megabits per second. Wi-Fi security. That's a very important topic. Or again, we could have an hour of speech on that topic alone. Open security. If you go to a Starbucks or you go to a restaurant, the majority of the time the security is open, meaning that you can get in the network without any authentication. You also have WEP, which is wireless equivalent privacy. You have Wi-Fi protected access, WPA. And the most common protocol right now, the latest protocol is WPA2, which is Wi-Fi protected access 2, which is a more secure network. So you must have at home, if you at home, you should configure your network using WPA2 security. Therefore, if you try to use your laptop, log into your bank, or trying to anybody that try to steal your password or anything, they won't be able to see anything. But if you're not open, if you're an open network at Starbucks or a restaurant, you have to be careful because you're an open network. So try not to go in the open network and try to use your banking or anything that you need secrecy for. Putting it all together. In conclusion, in order for you to have a Wi-Fi network, you need a gateway or access point, the actual network over the airwaves in the SSID. You also need the laptop or a client that can connect to the access point. It could also be a smartphone or a tablet. My next speech will be about how to optimize your home Wi-Fi. Please tune in. Mr. Toastmaster.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting topic.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, our next speaker is Carol Brahinsky, and she is giving a speech from Dynamic Leadership Level 3 about increasing knowledge using descriptive language. Her speech is titled Financial Independence. It's 5 to 7 minutes. And her intro is, do you want to be financially independent? How can you take control of your financial future? Carol will shift your mindset so that you grow your wealth. She earned a PhD and MBA in business and gained personal knowledge of what it takes to become financially wealthy. Please join me in welcoming Carol, the financial independence.
Thank you, Jimmy. It's a pleasure to be on tonight. Have you ever wondered, what do you need to do as your next step for financial independence? What if you're a young person? Do you wish you could go back and make changes? I had the pleasure at a recent celebration with my undergraduate students to answer some questions as they addressed their future in finance. They said, Dr. Bransky, what should we do to make sure we are financially independent so that we don't have to pay Piper to the boss if we don't want to? I think this is a common question that many of us have. And I recommended to them a book called The Wealthy Barber. It's an old book. Jim, it's not related to you. All right, but it's an old book. And I wanted to also point out, and I shared this with my students, is they said, are you serious? There's a sticker right here, and it says 50 cents. I said, yes, I paid 50 cents for this book at a Friends of the Library book sale. This is part of what I want to convey to people today. How do we save money? How do we make money so that we can? Rolando, can you mute yourself? Thank you. I'm not sure why, but it came up on your screen. So how do we become financially independent? So first, there's two ways. I teach business, right? So there's two ways a business is successful. We make revenue, and the second way is we reduce our expenses. Really basic, I know, but this is actually something that I want you to think about from an individual level. As an individual, how do I make money? It's called a salary for most of us, or that you're investing privately and you're an entrepreneur making money on the side, or for a full-time position. It's full-time entrepreneurship. And that's the way you're making revenue. Now, if we're paying the piper, meaning that I'm getting a salary from somebody else, typically I don't have that flexibility of being able to make tons of money in any particular year because I'm being held or pushed down by the corporation, if it's a corporation, or the organization, so that they can manage their cost as an organization. Well, that makes sense too, but I want more money. Don't you? All right, so if we're in that bind of wanting to make more money, this is what we need to do next. Get opportunities to make additional revenue on the side. At some point, if you become really successful at it, you will have enough opportunity that you can say, goodbye, dear boss, and off you go into your sunset, right? All right, so the first thing is let's go ahead and make additional revenue, and so that we can say, no paycheck needed. But for those of us who say, I'm not interested in that level of risk, and there is a risk associated with entrepreneurship, let's be honest. If you say, I'd like to have a salary, but I just want to make sure I keep getting the money. Now, let's suppose you receive an additional raise. Call it $2,000. $2,000 raise. Woohoo! All right, now, as you say, woohoo, realize, that $1,000 of it is going to go poof the minute they cut a check for you. It's called taxes. Oh, taxes. Yeah, it's brutal, just brutal. So here's my other suggestion is if we are going to get a $2,000 raise, put it in pre-tax dollars into your retirement money. Say, dear company, I'd like it to all go into my 401k or my whatever it is, IRA, whatever you have with your organization, so that you get pre-tax dollars set aside and you won't miss it. Off it goes. All right, by the time you retire, if you continue doing that for all your raises, you're going to be doing just fine. Now, one of the things I recommend to my students is saving at least 10% of your money, gross income, 10% per year, per paycheck. Just set it aside, ideally in a retirement plan, but you don't want to have everything in one basket. All right, so this is going to get into the second part, which is how do we save costs? How do we save costs? Well, one thing is by not spending it. Uh-oh. Yeah. If you don't spend it, you're going to have a lot of money left over and nobody will know it. You do not have to keep up with the Joneses. You don't have to have the gold-plated silverware or the fancy car in the driveway. Yeah. Nope, you don't need it at all. What you do need, though, is to say, it doesn't matter. Keeping up with the Joneses is not important. I know what is my priority, and my priority is to set it aside for a nest egg for my future. Either I can buy fancy carpets that I can hang on my wall, or I can put it towards my retirement, and my honey and I are just going to have a wonderful time in our future. But on the other hand, you still have to spend some money. You're hungry, or you have to have a roof over your head. So if that's you, you just have to say, I've got to spend wisely. Minimize your debt. Ideally, make it zero. Make it zero. No credit card debt at all for you. Pay off your balance every month. And if you say, oh, I want that new dining room table, save your money first and then use it towards that dining room table. You can still eat from the floor. It's okay. Nobody else will know it except for you and your family. Not a big deal. Remember, you don't have to keep up with the Joneses. Now, some of you might say, what about clothing? This is where you can shop at thrift stores. I buy elegant evening gowns that I can wear at Toastmaster conventions for, get this, $7. $7. Now, I did have to get some adjustments made, but that's a fancy ball gown for $7. Thrift stores work. So back to this idea of how do I become wealthy? You save money and you increase your revenue. Those are the two best ways to do it. Now, some of you will say, I'm better at one thing versus another. Well, then emphasize your strengths. Go with it. And meanwhile, I'm cheering for you. Woohoo! Go for it. And thank you. Back to you, Jim Dent.
Hey, thank you, Carol. Very interesting. Good tips. Now, while our evaluators get ready, we're going to move on to table topics. And Teresa is our table topics master tonight. Are you ready, Teresa?
I am ready, Mr. Toastmaster.
Okay, take it away.
Okay, who that has not had or who does not have a role in the meeting would like to begin with our first table topics? Mr. Norman, what do you think? Okay, Mr. Norman, you have been put on Time Magazine as the Person of the Year. Can you tell us about it? Can you tell us why you are now Person of the Year this year?
Thank you, Madam Table Topic Master. I'm quite surprised that they chose me to be Person of the Year. I tend to be one who rocks the boat. I was told a while ago that I didn't have a disease that was so common with many of my peers, non-rockaboutitis. I rock a boat all the time. So as I've continued to talk to our country and my community and my faith community and charge the people who I speak to live up to the ideals that our country has been founded on but rarely has lived up to, I've ruffled a lot of feathers, but I'm ruffling the feathers. Hopefully I've made a difference. And because of the difference I've made by ruffling the feathers and calling us to our highest ideals, I believe that's why they put me on the cover of Time magazine. Thank you, Madam Tabletop Master.
Thank you, Mr. Norman, and congratulations on this great achievement. For our next table topic, do I have a volunteer or do I help you volunteer? Okay, Miss Joy, being one of our newest Toastmasters in this club, are you ready? Oh, Miss Joy seems to have gone away. Oh, there you are. Are you okay? Joy? Can you take your microphone off of mute? I can't hear you. Can you, okay, there you go. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay. New Year's resolutions never seem to work. So you are going to explain to us, or can you explain to us, please, how instead of making New Year's resolutions, you will make change through tiny habits, daily habits every day. Thank you, Joy, for helping us all learn.
Changing tiny habits is, in fact, the best way of making changes in your life. And I have read some research that if you manage to keep a little change in your habits for 30 days, it will stick. So, for example, one thing I decided to do this year is to go to pickleball, to play pickleball 3 times a week. And I know that it works because I did the same resolution last year and I managed to keep it a couple of months until I went traveling somewhere else where I couldn't play pickleball. And then it was so difficult to come back to that habit. So maybe it is best to choose some change that is not dependent on your location. So if it's about making physical exercise, it might be best to decide that I will do some kind of physical exercise, half an hour every day at a certain point of time. And then you can fill that half an hour, whatever is feasible at that location where you are. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Miss Joy. Thank you for helping us all go into the new year with a better strategy for improving ourselves through tiny habits. Can I volunteer Mr. Liu for our next table topic? Mr. Liu, did everybody know that we have a famous author, book author among us? Mr. Liu, you have written this book, Drive. I hope that you now can take this opportunity to share with us about the book so that we can all go out and buy it.
Of course, Madam Topics Master and my fellow readers. Thank you for being here for my book signing for my new book, Drive. You may be wondering, what is Drive about? I'm not referring to the hard drive in a laptop. I am not referring to what you do when you're in your car. I'm referring to that motivation, that determination, that drive that helps us to succeed in life, whether it's financially, as our Toastmaster Carol Prahinsky shared with us, or whether it's achieving our goals through tiny habits. as Toastmaster Joy shared with us. Drive is an essential part of simply living a fulfilled, satisfied, and happy life. Some people like to think that happiness, the pursuit in life is happiness. I like to think that it is actually the journey through life, it's the pursuit itself that leads us to happiness. So you can think of it as the journey, and that's what my book really focuses on. It's not what are those things that one might want to be happy about, it's what are the actions, albeit perhaps tiny ones, little by little, that will take us from where we're at, our current reality, to the life that we want to lead, our preferred reality. Some of our goals may be small in nature. I'd like to lose 5 pounds this month. Some of our goals may be a lot larger in scope and duration. Like I would like to own a 100-foot yacht someday. Whatever they are, two things are essential for achieving those goals. One is breaking things down into more manageable chunks so that things don't seem overwhelming. And two, having drive, willpower, the determination to get there. By having drive, you will not only live a satisfied life, but you will achieve your goals and you will enjoy the journey as you approach happiness, Madam Topics Master.
Well, Mr. Liu, thank you very much, and thank you for being here to have your book signing, and congratulations on this great achievement. So, Miss Angela, would you be willing, we've just heard about drive and we're going into the new year, but we're always barraged by the daily news cycle and it's never good, you know. So, can you tell us why should we be happy?
Oh, absolutely, Madam Topics Master. There are lots of reasons for each of us to be happy. And I agree with you that we often hear negative news all day, you know, different times of the day. It can be overwhelming. In fact, I recently deleted my news app from my phone and my tablet. So sometimes a good strategy for like retaining your happiness and reminding yourself is to go back to the simple things and just make a list in your mind or on paper of all the good things in your life. Every single one of them. Let's say your family, your occupation, where you live, your education, your spouse or significant others' blessings, your children, all those wonderful things. And I'm sure that all of us really live in wonderful places. Although we're spread out all over the world, we all have blessings from the specific places where we live. So in my mind, when we're faced with bad news every day or people arguing every day, war, accidents, shootings, oh my gosh, terrible things. We need to go back to remember that we're all very blessed, what each of us have. We can, you know, review that. And we also should remember too that the purpose of news programs is to get people's attention. So they will present positive stories, but they most often focus on the negative. We have so much more. Our lives are so much greater than that. We have so many blessings. Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Miss Angela, for helping us go into the new year with a feeling of positive spirit. Do I still have some time, Mr. Toastmaster Jim? Do we have a little more time?
No, there's no more time.
No more time. Okay, thank you. I'll turn the meeting back to Mr. Toastmaster Jim Dent. Thank you. We can't hear you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Yeah, I forgot to turn my mute off. I'm going to turn the meeting over to Sunny Fridge, our general evaluator, so she can introduce our evaluators and call for the functionary reports. Sunny, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, and greetings, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. As your general evaluator for today, one of the main reasons that we have the evaluation portion in our meeting is to uplift our speakers so they'll come back and speak again, and that way we can celebrate their greatness. Part one of this evaluation is a three-step process. Part one, I'll introduce the evaluators. Part two, I will ask for the reports of the roll takers. In part three, I'll give a general evaluation. Let's get started. I'd like to call on our first evaluator, Scott Johnson. He will be evaluating the speech of Nick Lacani. Scott?
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator. It's my pleasure to evaluate Nick this morning, this evening, whatever time zone you may be in. And one of his objectives was to give a speech on any topic, and he's received feedback and apply it to a second speech. As well as that, Nick asked me to look at 3 items, and that was capturing and keeping the audience's attention. Well, I think Nick did that fairly well in an array of ways, and one way I really liked about what Nick did was his roadmap. So he gave us the BSM, that roadmap that we knew that what was going to follow, which kept us all very much intrigued, and he even changed it around. So he changed it to what he would do if we were the small business owners in Britain, and he related to that, and also he related to the American Bill Serenade's moniker, which was very clever. He explained very much easily what all 3 meant. So we had benefit rich, specific, and memorable. So he explained all those. His next idea that he wanted me to look at was, did the audience understand an elevator pitch? Well, I think as small business owners, I think we all understand what the elevator pitch is now, even though we didn't do it before, because he used repetition very much right through the whole speech to make sure that we did know what the elevator pitch was. And it's an interesting concept, because a lot of us, we get asked the question, what do you do? And we can come back with now, because he gave us the elevator pitch, what it means, and also he gave us the 3-step process, which was another area that Nick asked me to look at, that would we remember the 3-step process after we've left this meeting today? And of course we will, because he used the acronym BSM, which he used repetition again by saying benefit rich, specific, and memorable. It was a well-organised speech, very, very structured in its way. A couple of points for improvement, just to make this speech so much better, Nick, is I would have really liked if you had just a much more powerful introduction. We only get 7 seconds to really hook to the audience. So if you'd just given us a big promise, something we could really look forward to. And also I think you could have just been a bit more, I think there could have been a little bit more clarity right through the presentation, especially with the transitions. But you were very confident. You knew exactly what you wanted to say up the front. You had good vocal variety. I could see you had really good facial gestures also, and you had hand gestures, and we could see them up in the camera. So overall, and also you did extremely well by giving us a summary. So you told us when you were going to finish the speech by giving us a summary of the points, and you did that by using the process of callbacks. And so we did full cycle. We started at the front, come to the conclusion, and you gave us the callback or the feedback of the 3 points that we were trying to take in the BSM. So overall, Nick, I really enjoyed your speech. If you keep on doing your structured comments, but just be very mindful of just a very powerful start, so you hook us all in, so we have the concentration. And I'm sure, and just a bit more clarity in your transitions, but overall, I really enjoyed it. I was fascinated by the elevator pitch, and I'm sure all of us are going to go away and remember BSM, and that's one thing that you really wanted us to take away. Great speech, Nick. I look forward to your next speech with the feedback that I've given you. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Scott, for that evaluation. Next, we will have our second evaluator, Angela Smucker, will be. Next, we will have our second speaker, Angela Smucker will evaluate the speech of Rolando Goldman. Angela?
Okay, thank you, Madam General Evaluator. So, Rolando, you brought up a very interesting subject about the internet and Wi-Fi and how it all works. And I would say that in our group, we have people ranging from somebody who's not really interested in it at all to somebody who almost knows as much as you do. So I think that was a little bit of a challenge to talk about a technical topic with a broad range of people. But I think you did a good job of doing that. It is an interesting subject, and it does suit our group because of, basically who we are. So I think you did a good job of keeping it interesting for everybody who, wanted to find out more about the wireless internet. It was material suitable? Yes, absolutely. You started out basic, you got more complex, you gave more interest in information about the history. So you adjust us as a group at the right level for us. Like I said, starting out basic and getting more complex, well, you'll have some people who didn't know what Wi-Fi meant, and other people who want to know what all those 802 numbers mean, everybody in between. So that was good. You kept it interesting. You advanced through the basics to more complex topics. We knew at the beginning what your topic was, so no question there. And we knew that it would be interesting if we wanted to be interested. And again, it suited our group because this is what we do. It was very interesting, the history that you brought up and how it's improved and advanced wireless and how it's gotten faster and how that, affects each of us while we're trying to do more and more things online. And I would say your presentation was very logical. I think it was logical the way I would have done it. I would have started at the beginning, and I tell my students online, start at the beginning. It's all logical. That's the number one thing to do, because then people can follow you and will follow you, and they're not going to say, I don't get it, because they just heard step number 3. They're going to understand step number 4. And at the end, you reviewed everything, so that was excellent too, because it brought back, oh yeah, you did say this is connected to this, which is connected to that. And so overall, I would say you did a great job. Thank you, Rolando. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Angela. Now we will hear from our third evaluator, Lois Margolin, who will be evaluating the speech of Carol Prehensky. Lois.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. My fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests, and especially Carol. Financially independent. Who would like to go back and do this all over again? In the beginning, Carol just grabbed this, and I'm watching Norman and Lou, and everybody's raising their hand because you know what? We all do want to do this again. We all do want to be able to say, oh my gosh, if I had only saved when I was 20 years old. But try and tell that to a 20-year-old, and it's like on deaf ears. Trust me, I have these 20-year-olds. Carol, you did some things that were absolutely fabulous. I thought that your face had a lot of expression, especially when you were talking about taxes. You went down like this, and your voice fluctuated and matched your face. Those were two things that are definitely an experienced Toastmaster or speaker would show, and I personally appreciated that. You didn't get caught up in the hand gestures or anything like that. You just did a really clean job with your speech. There are a couple of things that I would recommend, as you might want to take this to a different level. There's only two ways to increase, and that is to either make more money or decrease your expenses. That didn't really come out even at the end. At the end, your recap just said, so you can either save more money or put more money into, what did you say? Save more money or increase your revenue. We didn't even talk about expenses in the recap. So I was kind of looking at this and restructuring it in my head a little bit, saying, okay, if I'm saving money or I want to increase my revenues, how do I do that? I either get a better job, make more money, become an entrepreneur. But be careful in the entrepreneurship, because if you're in a position like a CPA or a lawyer, you only have fixed hours. So that might not necessarily keep raising your money. And of course, investing. So you had all of those things pretty much nailed. And I really enjoyed the fact that you talked about the 401k. When it came to the expenses, I loved your stories about keeping up with the Joneses and their thrifts. That was one of the stories that I really enjoyed. The recap was kind of short. I would have liked a little more about the savings and the expenses. And then I would have brought in the book, because I thought the book was really important to the speech. And I would have liked to have had that as the recap, going, okay, did I whet your attention? If you had had this book, you too could be financially independent, because what I'm giving you is just a tip of the independence pyramid. Overall, though, I love listening to you speak. It's really hard to come up and evaluate Carol unless you're going to flip things on its ear and see different ways that you could do stuff, because you are such an accomplished speaker. So thank you for the opportunity to evaluate you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Lois. Thank you, Lois, for that evaluation, and thank all of you for great feedback. Now I will get the roll report from our helpers, and then I'll return for the overall evaluation of the meeting. All roll takers, please keep your comments to 1 minute or less. Timer, you can time appropriately. So 1 minute or less in the interest of time. We will start with our Wizard of Oz, the counter report, Ryan Demchuk.
Thank you, Sunny. So today I noticed that filler words are infectious. Today's filler word was and. I noticed as soon as someone started with that, which was Jimmy with 8. Other people picked up on it as well. Scott with 4. And it, there's my took off from there. Another thing I've noticed is a few people with their filler words, they actually give their filler words equal rights, I would say. Some are more specific and some just go right through the whole thing. I've noticed that Angela set the record today. She was really good at using every one of the filler words, like the and, so. And another one that I wanted to point out, and I'm sure someone will be able to fill me in on this one, but when it comes to using words like right, you know, or okay, I believe those are, in a sense, filler words. It's almost like people say them, if I read this correctly, it's that people say them almost as a way to reassure themselves that the audience or the listener had got what they were saying without actually kind of confirming it. So when you say right or you know, it tells them in their own head that, yeah, they got it, we're good enough to move on. But I think it's actually a filler word, if I'm correct, to use the rights, okay, and you know. So I noticed Carol had a few in there. Nick had about 6 okays, and Angela had about 4 you knows. And beyond that, it was a very clean meeting for ums and ahs.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Next, I will call on Andy to give the grammarian report. Andy.
Thank you very much, Sunny. Can you hear me? Okay. Nobody used the word celebrate or celebration amongst everybody speaking, but people did use interesting words and phrases.
Celebration several times. Thank you, Andy.
Okay.
Sunny used it, I used it, and I think somebody else used it.
All right. I
Sorry.
didn't catch that. Not a problem. We did use some interesting words. Angela, for example, used I didn't get it. And that's a very famous expression for those that remember the movie Big and Tom Hanks. Very important point to the story to say, I didn't get it. Lois used the word fabulous, which is very demonstratively expressive. We had Scott using, because in a way that was grammatically incorrect, we had him use confident, clever, and integrated. Good words. We had some other good words. Good, time's over. So after the meeting and wants to know, I'll post it in the chat.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Andy. Now we will call on Jim Barber to give us the Watcher Report. We're watching you now, Jim.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Many of us can celebrate a clean, non-distracting background, including, let's see, Scott, Sonny, Norman, Andy, Elaine, Roger, Joy, Lois, Dagmaro, Rolando, Dr. Watkins, and Angela. Congratulations to all of you. As far as everybody else, everybody in general, the lighting, good visual presence on video, good lighting is good. One thing to note, Ryan, you're looking good now, but occasionally you got very dark. There you go. I think the problem is you're well lit, but there's a bright door behind you. And I think the camera is picking up on that. If it would be possible to either kill the light behind you or close that door, I think your lighting problem would be solved. And it was just an intermittent thing, but just something to consider. Everybody else looked great. That's it, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Jim. Now we will have, I hope I'm getting this right. Is it Jacinta Watkins La Montaña to give us the chat monitor report, or is it Dr. Watkins?
Jacinta's fine.
Oh, hello.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. There's very lively and a lot of celebratory comments that were made on our group chat this evening. I'm definitely impressed with the amount of comments that took place and how relevant they were in regards to the actual topics. Just continually impressed by the group that we have. There were comments about an upcoming CES that's taking place, comments about TED Talks. There's also comments about the FBI surveillance ban in terms of the SSID that Rolando has spoken about. And then there were also comments just generally about what was actually taking place during the meeting. So really appreciate everyone's feedback. Had a very lively and wonderful conversation, very entertaining, and definitely I appreciate the chat being informative. Not only are we learning about different types of events that are taking place outside of Toastmasters, but it's helping us all to become better and more acute listeners. So I definitely want to celebrate with everyone with doing such an awesome job. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Dr. Jacinta Watkins. And I couldn't agree with you more. You pretty much summed up my overall report since we are running out of time, and I know we also have to vote. So I'm going to say it was a pleasure being your general evaluator, and now I'm going to turn it back over to the Toastmaster of the day.
Hey, thank you, Sonny. And let's see, do we have the votes tallied up yet, Dagmara?
Yes, we have.
Want to give us the results of the vote counting then?
Yes, the best speech, Nick. The best table topic, Lou. And the best evaluator, Lois. Give them a round of applause. Congratulations.
Okay, I've got one more item for us to celebrate about. I got an email today, and he just left the meeting, is Ryan completed the effective coaching level 4. So I think we ought to congratulate everybody. Anytime one of our members completes one of the levels, we ought to all send them a congratulatory email or message to them. Make sure they know we're all aware of it.
Correction, Mr. President. Ryan actually have completed all of that path. He is at level 5. He's completed. We have to wait a little bit. We have to wait a little bit in terms of his credit, but that's a separate issue, but he has finished that path.
Okay, the last one I got was the EC4. I didn't see anything on the EC5. So again, it's another reason to celebrate. So myself, I'm working on level 5 of both the effective coaching and dynamic leadership. and beginning my third path now. So hopefully this spring I'll be completing my level 5s sometime later this year.
Oh.
I've got nothing else.
Lois?
Oh, Mr. President,
Go ahead.
can I ask a question? I'd like to go back to Rolando's speech. I know if some of you have to leave, I get it, but I really liked Rolando's speech, and I had an idea. And there was one point where he had dates about the different levels of, Rolando, help me in here. What was it? The different levels of speed? Was that what it was?
Yes, the speed versus the protocol release date.
Would that have worked? And I know you and I kind of were talking offline, but I'm just kind of curious, and everybody else is. Would that have worked better as a chart? That we could have seen the progression of the speed over time? Because that's how my brain was looking at that. And I think when you get that many dates and stuff like that, does everybody else think like that, or just me?
I think I'll piggyback on that in terms of maybe a graph chart, a bar chart that makes it even visually look like, hey, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, you can have the timeline as the x-axis.
That's what I'm thinking as a timeline.
The y-axis.
Go like this.
Okay. All right. I just want to know, because I don't deal with charts all that often, but that thing just seemed to leap out at me going, wow, that would have been a great chart. And so I was just curious if anybody else thought the same thing or where they were going. So thank you. But it was a great job, Rolando. I really enjoyed it. And I can't wait for part 2.
Thank you. Thank you. I agree with you. I'm still learning PowerPoint.